Hi, I'm Kelly Kearney with Starry Constellation Magazine. And zooming in today, we're going to talk about a great show that's starring on Starz, a miniseries, Three Women. Welcome, John Patrick Amedori. Thank you so much for talking with me today. This was a fantastic show.
Thank you, Kelly. I really appreciate that.
Absolutely. You played Jack, who is the love interest of main character Shailene Woodley's character, Gia, in the Starz miniseries. And she is sort of like this representation of Lisa Taddeo, who wrote the book that the series is based on. What drew you to this female centric project, and what was it like working with Shailene?
Well, I actually working with Shailene was actually one of the main draws. The process happened very quickly. I got two scenes out of context and one of the scripts to read, and Jack and Gia were barely in it. Jack wasn't in it at all, so
Right, not in the
just
book.
really responded to the writing itself. It just instinctually, I felt like I knew what I could offer the character of Jack with the scenes that they had given me. So when I finally got to meet Shailene over a Zoom at like 7 o'clock in the morning to read our sides together, that was our first interaction before I got the role. I remember the feeling of finally getting to cross paths with her in person because we almost
Mhm.
worked together before. But I've always been a fan of or admirer of her emotional toolbox that she has. She's very receptive and open and can tap into these shifts in her characters, and that was a really huge highlight to finally be able to work with her because the context of the show itself lent to be very open emotionally, and her and I are very similar when it comes into going into scenes without any sort of expectations or ending goals in that sense, that we just went into every scene and we would feed off of each other, just the vibe emotionally. If she starts going faster, I go back, and if I start retreating, she would feed off of that. It was probably the most freeing I felt as an actor in a long while.
It's probably wonderful as an actor to have sort of this partner. It's kind of like a tennis match. If they come with their game and you come with your game, you really bounce the scene back and forth together, and it feels like so natural.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I watched the editing of the show and it's so seamless in this storytelling fashion, but I'll remember like, oh, that was take 3 because in that take we were more like two lions in a cage, and then
Mm.
5 because we were more stoic with each other to try and bring out different emotions, and it really is like a tennis match in that sort of sense.
Yeah, and you were lucky enough that the author of the book, Lisa, also wrote the series. So, what was it like? Because Jack wasn't in the book, having access to her, and also was it beneficial to your performance? Were there like insights that she provided to this character? Was he based on someone from her real life?
Well, actually, yeah, he's based off of her living husband and father
Oh,
health. So I got to meet and hang out with them quite a lot. We were
mm,
stationed in New York and Montana and all around. Um, I think because I didn't know anything about Jack or Jackson, the actual person, I really didn't really. It wasn't about doing an impersonation or trying to pull things. There's actually, in the script themselves, there's actual tidbits to their real life and stories that he knows that Jackson and his father, there's a story that we tell in there. And um, it was more or less like everything was just on the page. And there was a lot of freedom from Lisa and even Laura Eason, our producer. Like they were very open to like, they were happy with what I was bringing to it. I think that they wrote this character wanting him to be a certain way, like almost spiritually and emotionally. It's an
mhm.
that he is, and it's very pure. And there is a purity to Jackson in real life, and I think I just wanted to accentuate those things that they had already written in the scripts for us.
Yeah, that was an interesting addition to the film from the book. I know the book is so popular, and people were happy to see you included. It gave a little bit more of an understanding of the author, as she was included in the series, but obviously not really in the book. Speaking of the relationship between Jack and Gia, uh, she continuously runs from him. He's sort of like, here's my heart, and she's sort of like, maybe not. What do you think is the deeper meaning behind her actions of running? Is it fear of loss, or is it like something else? You think?
Yeah, I think it's I mean, our interpretation, or at least mine that I can recall, was this she Gia kind of goes through life with an armor,
Yeah.
and Jack is a disarmor. And there is a particular scene where she says, you know, you made a move to disarm me. I think that's the line. And he says, I don't really think in terms of strategy. And
Mm.
then that was kind of my modus operandi as playing Jack and their dynamic together. It was, there's a Yogi Berra quote, and he says, when you meet a fork in the road, take it. And like that was me. I was like, that's Jack. And then I remember doing my own kind of like uh, conversations that I would have with Shailene and play them back in my head, and then Gia do the character kind of blending. And I thought like he would literally go to outer space because he goes all over the world, like traveling to like be with her. And
Yeah.
he's Wally. So he's Wally and she's Eve, and he would go to space for her because even Eve kind of like she's on a mission. She's not there for love or anything, and Wally's just like, you're the one for me. And I think that's sometimes in this story in particular, it's something that Gia needed, you know, to know that it's okay to be open and to feel safe with somebody else in a way that she didn't see happening for her in her life.
Yeah, that's an interesting comparison because he does sort of like, this is my heart, and he kind of follows her along. But there was a moment in the series where, things sort of break down a little bit, and Jack, he told her that he thought she was going to be a bad mother. Do you think he had the right to say that, or was that sort of like an overstep on his part?
I think in that moment, it's more. I internalized it as when he just wants to say something very hurtful,
Yeah.
and he knows her. Their relationship is built on or just kind of as if it's like two souls, you know, that know each other and understand each other so well. That's what scares Gia, and that's what invigorates Jack. And so I think he says it deliberately to hurt her, and he immediately feels guilt. That's how I felt saying it. So
Mhm.
when I played that scene, I didn't plan how it was going to come out. They actually gave me that monologue like the day before, I think, and I just internalized it until this is how it's going to come out. And I remember feeling I want this person to feel bad. I want her to feel bad, but like if I could take it back, I could. And I think that's I think that's a just metaphorically, I think something that can go into different parts of life. Like I wish I could take it back, but I'm moving forward with this decision I'm making. It is, there's a lot of colors inside the story and these relationships. That's for sure.
Yeah. And, at the end of the series, well, because a part of Gia, her character, she has this weight on her about her parents who died, her mother who had cancer. So at the end of the series, Gia undergoes an MRI test for cancer, but we never really learn the results. What do you think the viewer should take away from that kind of unresolved storyline? Is her fate set? Will she live to survive her daughter? Obviously, she's based off of a real person. Did you know what the intentions were when you were filming the series, or was it also left up to you guys and your interpretation?
Mm, I don't remember, to be honest.
It's been a while. It's been a while because you guys bounced from networks. So,
Yeah, there was that the journey of the show, and to be honest, I kind of adapted to this Jack kind of way of thinking. Like I only read the scripts that Jack was in. I didn't read
mm,
things. That's also just a personal John Patrick thing. Like I like watching the shows as a fan and going on the journey and seeing what other people were doing when we weren't around. I'm not really sure if there was a version of the script where we knew for a fact that she didn't have cancer or did have cancer. If it's open to interpretation as it stands right now, I feel that the show kind of um, leads you to have like to open up your mind to different people's experiences, and I
yeah,
think the show as a whole, your empathy will take over, and you know you'll agree and disagree with the things that Sloane does, or you know I think last week was a Maggie episode, and her deciding to go to the police station and go on that journey. I mean, I think it's the fork in the road kind of thing. We make emotional choices, cerebral choices, and uh, I think maybe if it's open, it's kind of to ask the audience like, how would you feel, or what do you think the best outcome for yourself would be?
Yeah,
That's
and as a man in the series, it's the series takes the role of traditionally reserved for women, sort of this object of desire, and kind of puts it on the men in the series, which is a kind of a new twist. In what ways did that dynamic influence your perspective while filming? Because, like I said, usually on TV, the women are the object of the desire, and the men, and we see it through a male gaze. But this is through a female gaze, a completely new scenario. So, how did that feel when you were filming? And did it change your perspective a little bit?
I don't know if it really changed my perspective, more just opened it. You know,
Hmm.
I think that the male gaze is also, even when people think that the women are looking through like the women's lens, like they're still looking through a male gaze because of like the patriarchy and
Yeah.
what. So I think what is special is that we really did attempt and do a really good job at bringing the woman's gaze to the forefront. I've been really fortunate to work with a lot of really great women in my career, writer, directors, producers, showrunners. My life is pretty much revolved around strong women. You know, my significant,
Hmm.
my agent, my manager, my publicist, they're all women. I find that their perspective and their intuitions are, uh, they lack an ego to a place that like I'm really receptive to it.
Hmm.
But I think the show itself and my participation in it, they made me feel like a contributor to the story, and not just the man filling up a section of the story and being that. It's like even we're doing the women's the female gaze, the men still have integrity and they still have
Yes.
their own thing, and like that's something that women are very good at. Yeah.
Well, the show is like it's written by female directors, female producers. We're digging deeply into female desires and what their sexual experiences were on the show. Is this your first fully led female project? I mean, you said you had worked with female direction, things like that, but fully led female projects. And did you notice any differences on like on-set communication compared to maybe male led projects?
I think my first mostly female experience was Timer. Timer,
Mm,
first time writer director Jack Schaefer, Emma Caulfield, Michelle Blythe, I think her last name is Michelle Borth. There we go.
mm.
Uh, and then our producers were all women, like four.
Okay.
So even though like the crew was a lot of men and filling up that space, the ones that in charge that I communicated with, that I asked questions, all women, and I learned a lot on that set, about all kinds of things, hormones, uh, you know, just being around women is just it's a comfortable place for me. This was a little different just because I think that the themes and topics in this story, uh, you know, are a little. I think these themes and topics are going to hit a lot closer to home for a lot of other women who watch it, and even men who are around other women who go through things they do. So no, I don't think, like I said, I don't think my perspective has really changed. I am attracted to projects where people really love their job. You asked me about male versus female like led sets. I've done a lot of television over the.
Hmm.
I picked up kind of early on the doing a guest spot and a director who's a man in his late 50s early 60s who directed like an episode of Columbo or something, and just like carried on a career of television directing, who just comes in and really doesn't care about lighting or giving much direction to anybody, and I like being around people who care about their job and want to do a good job. That makes me excited. The first time I saw we did a full table read, Betty Gilpin was playing Lena with like the tears and the smile, and
Mm.
saw her portrayal of that, and my mind was blown, and I was so excited because that was episode 7, I think, and there's a lot of Jack and Gia in that, and I was so happy that like, oh, we care, and then we're going to like do a really great read like on this tiny little computer for everyone to see, like we're giving it our all, and that's something that I think is a can be a difference between male and female perspective of going about the job sometimes, you know.
Yeah, and you mentioned Betty. Gosh, what an amazing performance! I mean, amazing.
Right there.
Yeah,
You're in awe. She's incredible.
he was incredible. With and we'll talk a little bit about the explicitity of the content with evolving viewer preferences regarding kind of intimacy and explicit content. How did you and the intimacy coordinator Claire Warden approach the portrayal of these scenes in the series? Did you find her direction to be helpful?
I did. Another aspect of working with her as a woman, really caring about the job,
Yeah.
uh, emotional safety as well as our physical safety, what we felt comfortable with. So in a weird way, it was. Um, I just felt very open and comfortable to say, like, this is, talk about insecurities that I've had in the past and who I am as a person, and talking through what the scenes are supposed to be about. And I think that's another thing, that the sex scenes aren't gratuitous because they're layered to show you something about that intimacy. And each intimate scene is about something different. It's not just, oh, we're gonna have a sex scene now because we want to show some private parts and
Right.
we're showing you so that you understand like what that aspect feels like from this character's perspective. And that was we were very conscious of that. And then the balance between also Shailene and I just being open and free with each other to just, this is what our stuff is about. The
Mhm.
Gia stuff was different than the Sloan story, and especially the Maggie and what Lena's going through. You know, they were well taken care of. I felt very well taken care of by Claire. She's
That's an interesting new career in Hollywood, and I think it's a worthwhile one. And obviously, everyone I've asked has found it so helpful, and able to feel a lot more open in the scene, and and more comfortable with their scene partner.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've done quite a few intimacy scenes over my career, and I always have to go back and check and make sure there's not some random person sitting next to Video Village. You know, one of my things is my partner gets the robe first. She's got to be comfortable, taken care of. Where's Video Village? How far away does the director have to travel to get here? There's a way to do things so that everyone does feel comfortable. And as in my experience on this particularly, I felt very comfortable to let the scenes and the characters be what they were because I felt taken care of. And I know that's not the case for a lot of sets, and they haven't been for a long time. So I think it's very helpful.
Yeah, I think so too. As women reflect on the current war on their rights that is happening every day in America, their freedoms and their sexual expressions, what message do you hope they take from this show?
Who takes the message?
Women right now that are seeing their rights, taken from them, their sexual expression kind of squashed in the public. What message do you think this show will give to them?
Sloane has that line where she says, "I think we should stop calling each other sluts."
Hmm.
That is from a outside, I think, judgment, and I think that I think um, Kamala just said that line about not women not wanting to be humble. Not
Mhm.
everyone wants to be what somebody else sees them as what they should be, and I think individualism and perspective are really really important. I think that we are reaching an interesting place in our timeline that we get to see the information that's coming in and how the world deals with that. Um, I hope that the show doesn't. I hope the show makes women feel seen and heard. I hope that men watch the show and they look at their mothers and sisters and cousins, and you know, they have empathy. I think that people do get inside their own heads about what other people think that they should be seeing, and I hope they take a lot from it. I really
I
do.
hope men watch it too. What do you think would be a relatable part of the series for them? I mean, not all men are maybe open to these kind of female heavy themes, but what do you think in the story would be relatable to them that would maybe appeal to them and then kind of open their minds a little bit about the themes of the show?
Uh, I don't know because uh, I don't. My brain doesn't operate like other men's do. I think. I've never really been a part of like the boys' club. So
Individualism.
there you go. Exactly. The dudes who stand around in a circle and just pile on the misogyny jokes or whatever it is. Like I just, and like they didn't want to hang with me either because we just didn't vibe. So like that's cool. So I really don't know how those men think to where I would think that they should watch the show and get something from it. Um, but I do think that there is an a there there's an appeal to humans and love, because that's another thing too. Like this is a show about women, but it's also a show about love,
Yeah.
and the majority of us feel love and are looking for love, and we've dealt with the love that we think we deserve, the love that we think we're looking for. So I think those are themes that aren't gender specific, that I think that men can find in it.
Yeah, I think I agree. Not only is it love between others, it's also a self love, understanding what you need and what's going to make you happy, and going for it. And I think that's was maybe what was so inspiring about the book, and what people are finding inspiring about the show. What's next for you? Are you working on any other projects we could look out for? You just came off of Dear White People. You're now in this. What's coming up next?
Right now, I'm working on promoting this show. That's my main focus. I write music every day. I've got a couple
Yes.
that are going. There's a couple things on the burner. Been working on some personal projects as well. I direct and write in my own time, so I'm pretty excited for what 2025 has got coming our way. It's a lot of open waters. So
I heard you picked up the ukulele. You're a multi instrumentalist. That's really impressive. Ukulele is not an easy instrument, even if you're a guitar player. So yeah, that's fantastic. Any chances we might see an album come out in the future?
it's on my agenda to
Oh, great.
the I've gone through a lot of different iterations of my music style, what I do on my own, and I think how whatever I've been working on right now, it's going to come to fruition, and then it's going to take a life of its own.
Oh wow. Well, I can't wait to see that. And where did the ukulele come from? Did you have an interest in that?
Uh, my significant other bought a ukulele, and I decided I would try and figure it out. I play by ear, so I just
Hmm.
fiddle around, and it is a completely different instrument than guitar. But yeah, we've learned some Carpenter's covers. I learned Stone Temple Pilots the other day by accident because I was trying to figure out a different chord progression. It's just been a lot of fun. A lot of different things come out of me when I'm playing different instruments. So the ukulele, there could be a ukulele themed album. Could just be me and ukulele. I think Eddie Vedder did this a long time, like not too long ago.
I'm
So
sure the fans would check out anything. What would you like to say to them who have followed you and your work, and they love this show and they can't wait to listen to your ukulele album or any album you put out?
Well, I appreciate people who respond to the work that I do. It, it it's been the heart of my goals has always been to create art that makes people emote the way that art has made me feel things, and I hope that I can continue to do that. for as long as I can because I don't feel done yet. So if they're not done, I'm not done.